Here we go. Gotta breathe. Just gotta wait on Pat. Just. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for joining. Here we go, right. Oh, fantastic, right. How do we set it up so we go live together? Oh,
Hey there, how's it going?
I'm alright, how are you?
Oh, doing all right.
Good.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
right. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, so am I. Although I realized this morning, apparently I don't know how to read. I don't know how to read maps well. Scotland is only 5 hours ahead of where I am in America, so
Oh,
it's
right.
like it's about 3 p.m. here.
Oh, right. Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like when we were discussing last week. I thought Google said it was 8 hours ahead because my mom's from Ireland. I'm used to that being like 6 hours ahead.
okay. Um, Sorry, I'm just uh, muting some of this chat. Right. So, we'll just wait a few more minutes, but I just thought this was an opportunity I did not want to pass up.
Oh yeah, no, I've been a fan of yours since I saw the one video that went super viral like almost
Yeah.
a year ago, where you had the whole gang and you're like, Zoink Steepers, Rutro, and then you're like, back off, spooky gang.
Yeah. So that's I don't know if you've seen the show Still Game. It's a Scottish show about pensioners, and that's where that quote comes from. So it wasn't an original punchline, but I just felt so appropriate to scream at a ghost.
That does sound very appropriate and very
Um,
Scottish.
yeah, exactly. So no, that was fun. That was a great photo shoot. So the guy who owns the Mystery Machine that we rented also, so we rented it for Comic Con, and then he invited us back another day when we had the whole gang together, completely for free. But he owns the church with the graveyard as well as the Mystery Machine, and did an entire photo shoot for us for free. So
Oh,
that
that
was
is cool.
true, and hopefully we're going to be at Capital Sci-Fi Con in February with the Mystery Machine as well, if that goes ahead. So
I know that would be amazing.
yeah, so that's going to be really exciting. So yeah, no, it's been a challenging year, but the one thing that's kept going is I rebranded after the virality of that video to Scottish Scooby Gang because originally I was Hawkeye of Hawk Hill because I lived in an area called Hawk Hill and my favorite superhero was Hawkeye. But because of the virality of that video and because people were really enjoying the Scooby Doo content and because Scooby Doo is something that's extremely close to my heart, made sense to become the Scottish Scooby Gang.
I would say, yeah, it's like I've made this account for Scooby History because like on my normal account where I used to post like comedy videos,
Yeah,
to talk about Scooby there. But I'm like, I could probably just make a whole account and build up a little niche following.
yeah, and honestly, I thought I knew my stuff until I started watching your account, and then I was like, oh god, there's so much that I don't know. Um, so many fun
Oh,
bits of trivia.
oh yeah, it's like Wikipedia is one of the chronically open tabs on my computer.
Yeah, I can. Oh god, I can imagine. yeah, you seem to absorb and share trivia, kind of like, I mean, so you might have seen that we do our weekly live streams. We change theme, and sometimes there'll be a theme that we really know really well, and sometimes we'll heavily rely on Wikipedia if we're struggling.
Yeah, it's like I try to catch your stream sometimes, but it's like I'm usually at work on Sundays, so
Yeah, no, I mean, no, that's absolutely fine.
sometimes I can catch like the back end when I'm on a break. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, there's never any pressure to join. It's just it's kept us going throughout. So like I've had a leak in my flat for the last year. So
oh
I've been out of my flat. So it's been a really difficult year. It's been a very challenging year, and it continues to sort of throw challenges and curveballs at me. But one of the nice things is how great our loyal group of folks have been. Um,
oh yeah, it's always great when you have people who are loyal to you helping you out.
yeah, no, people have been really good, and we've had some of our we've done live streams at our friends, and yeah, I, it's been good. It's been but yeah, it's been a challenging year. But the nice thing is, yeah, like Scooby Doo became the thing we were known for. Actually, speaking of, you mentioned your comedy. I saw you do a few videos like in the Scooby. So you do a stand-up routine in the Scooby outfit. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah, so last October, I bought a Scooby Doo outfit because I have been like contemplating it for a while, and my mom, who's usually the one who tries to tell me not to waste my money, was like, "You're
Yeah,
very useful. Just spend the money. You'll get use out of it." And so, just to make sure I actually got use out of it, I started wearing it to some of the open mics around St. Louis. Because I'm already known in the scene as being the Scooby Doo fan, so no one was surprised when I bought the costume.
yeah.
And, and so I started like just doing some of the open mics in October because some of them were like, you know, dress up as like a character or whatever, and so it wasn't like I was completely out of place.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I can't talk. I mean, I go to karaoke dressed like this sometimes, and just yeah, no, I've been dressing as this character since I was 5 years old, and yeah, no, I love the franchise, and it's always had a special place in my heart. That was one of the things I was gonna ask is like, what, like, has it always just been a childhood love of yours? And what was it that appealed to your childhood heart and your adult heart about Scooby Doo?
Oh yeah, no, I've been a fan of Scooby Doo since I was about 2 3 years old in the late 1990s. And so that's been it's I think what appealed to me was like the dogs talking.
Yeah, I mean, there's that interview with Freddie Jr. where he says the same thing. It's a talking dog, man. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like, I think looking back at it, I wonder if subconsciously as children it goes a bit deeper, but we don't realize if that makes sense. Like, I wonder like, if we're like, oh, this is actually getting us to use our brains. This is actually treating us with intelligence. This is legitimately funny. Whatever it is that it. But I think Scooby Doo is very important, and I think that's the reason it had so many clones and stuff like that. Was it created a formula that, and it's kind of in a similar vein to Blue's Clues. I find that it's encouraging children to use their brains and like pay attention and just not be as passive maybe with their watching.
Oh yeah, I agree. Because Blue's Clues was also one of the big shows I was obsessed with as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a very special. So yeah, so like for net, but like what's funny now is I see layers. I can't remember if you made a video of it. Discussing the fan theory of Shaggy and Fred being draft dodgers and that whole sort of how much of it is socialist propaganda because all the villains are greedy capitalists and all that. So it's like how much of it, from an adult point of view, can you go into those readings beyond the sort of surface level?
Yeah, I've never discussed that fan theory, but I hear it a lot, and it like months ago it used to pop up quite a bit in the comment section on my videos before I took
Yeah,
my break.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
I don't often. subscribe to these, dark fan theories like what if you know the Rugrats are all dead and all those like I don't love those theories, but like the Scooby Doo one I was like this is just another like this is just adding a political layer to this, and it's not like the political imagery is necessarily subtle with the hippie van and them living this sort of nomadic lifestyle and things like that, and it being very pro teenager, and it's not subtle the fact that the villains are all capitalists and stuff like that. So it's like it's definitely I think it's like a valid reading. I don't think that it's too much of a stretch ever to think about like whether or not you subscribe to the idea of them being draft dodgers. It's whether or not you want to take into account the time period and things like that, but and sort of the lifestyle of the characters live. But I just think like I don't I have you seen NerdSync's video or videos on Scooby Doo discussing how it's a sort of franchise at war with itself, and there's this dichotomy of it being men in masks and then having the real supernatural stuff, and it kind of flip flopping and
Oh
um,
yeah, I've seen those videos. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I love people like you who analyze it and just go a little bit deeper into it. So yeah, so let's just like how did your comedy show go? Did it go well?
Oh yeah. That's for the most part. Those sets actually went pretty well because like I would do it in character as Scooby, just talking about his life with the gang, and then he would also like you know talk about like going to a rehab for his Scooby snack addiction.
Oh, so were you in character the entire time?
Yeah, it wasn't just me talking about Scooby Doo in the costume. It was actually me like pretending to be Scooby.
That's phenomenal. Like I know I've done like a few like Scooby Doo sketches and stuff like live and also on TikTok and things like that. But that's so funny. Yeah, I would love to. Like I've done stand up before, and I did a sort of semi exaggerate or like quite an exaggerated version of a caricature of myself. Like I basically did what people would immediately think of when they see a guy in a full suit and a purple cravat walk on stage, and I did that. And I would love to maybe revisit it, but talk about working with kids and stuff like that. And bringing it back to Scooby Doo, like one of the things I love is the fact that yeah, it's I did for the 50th anniversary of Scooby Doo in 2019. I was working in a different soft play than I am now, and my boss allowed me to do a Scooby Doo event for the 50th anniversary, and we had this big complicated scavenger hunt. And the funny thing about that is if you set up, hi Alfie, sorry I'm just seeing the chat. Um, the funny thing is, if you set up a big complicated scavenger hunt, the adults in the room will go like, "What are the rules? How does this work?" And I'm like, in the time you asked that, the kids solved three clues. Kids are vastly, vastly intelligent, and I like the fact that Scooby Doo as a franchise typically treats kids with a lot of intelligence. Like I think one of the best examples of that is maybe a pup named Scooby Doo, which I don't feel like necessarily gets the love it deserves for being like the kiddified
No, it
version of
doesn't.
it. But it has the structure of three. It literally sets clues. It literally points out where there's clues. It has Velma. It has them point to the camera and say, "Do you know who it is?" And it makes you pay attention. And I think that deserves a lot of love.
Oh yeah, no, I love a pup named Scooby Doo. Like I was just binging it in the last few days, and I actually finished
Yeah,
my binging last night. And yeah, it holds up very well.
it does, and the music's fantastic in it. So yeah, let's discuss. We'll start with your favorite show, like iteration of Scooby Doo in show form, and your favorite in movie form. What would you say?
Oh, okay. So, ooh, let's see. My favorite Scooby Doo iteration. Well, it's obviously gotta give props to Where Are You because
Yeah,
we're
classic.
saying space, and I also love Mystery Incorporated for daring to do something different.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, absolutely.
And then just because in comedy we have rules of three. A Scooby show I like that I feel doesn't get enough love. It's the new Scooby Doo mysteries from like 1984. So one where like it's got like the Michael Jackson Thriller
All right.
song. It's like, so, and like Fred and Velma kind of made a little return after not being part of the show for a few years.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get into that because like obviously Fred is near and dear to my heart. Hi Grace, sorry, I just was reading the chat. Hi Grace. Grace is one of our regular Smurfs and Mickle that joins us every week. Um, so yeah, so absolutely. I think Mystery Incorporated is so interesting because it starts off as like, yes, there's a little bit of a thread of a story, and you're interested in that, but it's also doing the normal Scooby Doo formula. And then by the end of it, we're talking like Nazi robots, and we're talking Lovecraftian horror, and yeah, no, it's been like that show goes really weird at points, but it's such an interesting journey.
Oh yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey worth taking.
It is, and it's a that show to me feels like a love letter to Scooby Doo in the fact that it gives reference to the formula while doing something new. It develops the characters and makes them more interesting to the point of sometimes making them like caricaturish, but the one like I love Mystery Incorporated. Don't get me wrong. Like I think like if people ask me like what is it depend like what is my favorite version of Scooby Doo, like it literally depends what mood I'm in. Because if I'm in the mood for something that does something fresh and new, then it will be Mystery Incorporated. If I'm looking for something comforting, it's got to go to a pup named Scooby Doo. Like I just find it such a comfort show. Um, like I just find that everything's silly. The characters are like Fred is really exaggerated. The idea of teaching kids what a red herring is by having that character called Red Herring and things like that. And yeah, it's formulaic to to a science, and that's kind of very comforting. Um, okay, favorite movie.
Oh, favorite movie. Uh, I because like so the first three direct to video movies from the '90s, like
Yeah,
Zombie Island, Witch's
yeah.
Ghost, and Alien Invaders. Those three are like those are my three favorites. So whichever one's number one kind of just depends on my mood.
I totally agree. I think I'm always gonna have to give number one to Zombie Island. I think that's just it is. I literally I make this joke, and I'm barely joking when I say it. I think it's the best horror movie ever made. Um, at least I think it has legitimate scares. Again, it is a love letter to Scooby Doo in the fact that it plays on the formula because it does the whole the ghost is here thing, and you see Daphne get sort of so tired of it, and then it flips it on its head and gives you like genuine fear, um, and just the atmosphere of it and the way it's animated and stuff like that. Like that definitely, to me, is definitely up there. But I do love like recently I watched Witch's Ghost, and you can't fault the Hex Girls. You can't fault Tim Curry as a twist villain, one of the most obvious twist villains ever. But I know, and you can't fault just the Halloween autumn vibes that it gives you, or the fall vibes.
No, you can't. That's like especially at the end when for anyone watching, if you haven't seen it, spoiler, even though the movie's 25 years old. It's like
Yeah,
when they send Sarah Ravencroft the witch back into the spell book, and she grabs and takes him with him.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, this is. I was like, this
yeah,
is darker than the ending of Zombie Island. At least there was all the zombies like disintegrating because they were old. It's like this guy
yeah.
was still technically human.
Yeah. Oh no, we straight up see people die in those films, and it's really weird to think that's in kids movies, and it's not off camera or anything. We just yeah, it's wild. Because like not only does he get sucked back in the book, but then the book gets burned, implying that yeah, that they can't come back. They won't come back. That is crazy. Okay, well, I do have a question, and maybe you can answer this as the Scooby Doo historian, because I have a gripe with Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, and it's such a silly gripe. When the witch gets returned into the book, and when everything turns back to normal, the pumpkins turn back to normal, the trees turn back to normal. Why does the turkey stay massive?
See, I think the turkey stayed massive for the role of funny. because
Yes, absolutely, 100%, and I agree. But within the logic of the universe, did the magic somehow trigger some mutation in the turkey? Um, like, why does it keep its magical properties?
yeah, it's like that is also one thing I never understood. How come the turkey still gets to stay big? I get
Yeah,
my best guess would be because like the turkey never actually like tried to hurt anyone or anything, and also just because they're gonna need a new attraction. Maybe the turkey was just forgot to is oh yeah, magic's done. I can go back to normal.
yeah. Okay, now we can get on to slightly more controversial territory, possibly. Least favorite show, least favorite movie.
All right, so least favorite show. I don't count Velma because Scooby's not actually in the show.
Fair
So
enough. I was wondering if that was where the I have not seen it, so I can't really comment. I have seen clips and was like, I think they've committed the cardinal sin of making these characters unlikable, but that's
yeah, my least favorite Scooby Doo show. I don't like Shaggy and Scooby Doo Get a Clue. The follow up to What's New Scooby Doo.
yeah, it's weird that one.
Yeah, it's like I like the idea of it. It's just a lot of it is the execution, and a lot of the jokes don't land. Because
No,
I love the idea of like Shaggy and Scooby like inheriting like $1 billion and being able to use it to like use technology for good. But
yeah.
I I feel like it also needed like Velma, Daphne, and Fred like in the show like more often because they only appeared in 2 episodes out of 26 that were made.
Really? See, I've not watched a hell of a lot of it, so that is interesting. Yeah, that's weird. And like this comes to, I think this idea of taking Fred, Daphne, and Velma out of the franchise is something the franchise has done a lot, and I don't love it. If I'm honest, anytime they've done it. So for me, yeah, least favorite show. When it comes to the shows, I am probably gonna give it to 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo.
Oh,
Um, I think just I do not love Flim Flam, and
understandable.
and we will get on to my thing about Scrappy, but again, in my opinion, they're taking out my two of my favorite characters in Fred and Velma, and I just find this show quite obnoxiously loud, and not in a funny or lol random way. Yeah, I don't know. It just goes all over the place. Not to mention the very fact that it ends with that gaping continuity of Flim Flam only hoovering up 12 ghosts, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I actually like 13 Ghosts, but a lot of it is just because they brought in Vincent Price, one of the greatest
Right.
American horror
Yes.
actors. That's
Absolutely. Best part of the show is Vincent Price as Vincent Van Gogh. 100% agree with you on that one. And I do like the fact that they have continued to bring him back in different sort of ways while keeping his sort of foppish vibes. Like obviously they brought him back in Mystery Incorporated as a sort of B-list actor. They brought him back for the sequel, the sequel movie.
oh yeah,
Um,
this is the 13th Ghost. Yeah, that was
yeah, which was
yeah. We don't
fine.
talk about that.
It was definitely for when it comes to movies. What was like? Did you say your least favorite of the movies? Do you have a least
Um,
favorite?
so my least favorite of the movies is Return to Zombie Island.
Right. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up because that was I think number two worst for me. Yeah. It. I don't know what that film was trying to do. What?
I think because Warner Brothers now they're like yeah no supernatural it's all guy in a mask so basically they're kind of just trying to retcon the best movie and act like everything that happened in the first movie like was just like you know smoke and mirrors and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And it just like, but here's the thing: if they were just doing that in like, because the 13 Ghosts movie sequel did something kind of similar in the fact that it tried to imply that all the ghosts, like Velma was so determined that it was just a hoax, and due to, altitude and all these things, and they leave this sort of question of, is Velma going to open the box? What happens if she does? What happens if she doesn't? They leave that question, but that is something that the film tries to do. But I would at least think that film has one like consistent through line of trying to capture the last ghost. The Return to Zombie Island, it seems to go all over the place. Suddenly it's a movie set and there's stunts and there's all this thing and it's a film set, and then the cat, the black cat monster doesn't come back or is have any relevance to the film, so it's trying to do so much instead of just telling one story.
Yeah, like I'll give Curse of the 13th Ghost this. It, like as bad as it is, at least it knew what it was doing.
Yes, it didn't anger me. I just found it kind of a nothing kind of send off to a show I wasn't particularly fond of. But I think Zombie Island hurt so much because it was so messy and it was a follow up to my favorite film, which I do hold, quite sacred. Yeah, the other one for me, and this I documented this. Like the video's gone now, but I like back when it came out, Scoob. It came out.
Oh
It was done in cinemas, and then lockdown happened, and I hate like if there's four characters in Scooby Doo I can't stand: Scrappy Doo, Flim Flam, Blue Falcon, Dino Mutt. Anytime those four appear, I'm immediately fucked off already. Scoob is essentially just the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe movie, and it has zero like follow through in any of it. We will get onto that, Halls. We will get onto that. We will get onto Scrappy. I am sure because I do somewhat agree with your sentiment, Pat, that just saying Scrappy Doo is annoying and that being the end of the discussion is a bit reductive, and I also agree with your point. I think you mentioned that Scrappy Doo literally saved the franchise, and that cannot be understated. It cannot be understated just how much Scrappy Doo saved the franchise. That being said, when my like this is my main. I made this point, and again, it's not exclusive to Scooby Doo. In fact, it's a trope called the Scrappy, and it's basically when a character who is brought in to boost ratings, then takes over the show, um, and then changes what was lovable about the show and essentially twists it into something and becomes a bit of a hog in the spotlight. And for me, the Scrappy Doo thing kind of like I made a comparison back years ago to, I don't know if you're familiar with the show The A Team. I don't know if you've
yeah.
watched. Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the fifth season, but they introduced this character called Frankie Santana, um, who's meant to be like this, special effects wizard, and it's like cool. That's a skill that's going to go along well with Hannibal's acting and things like that, and it's going to go well with Faces Cons. But essentially, he wasn't allowed to be his own thing because they kept teasing the fact that the con man, the suave guy, Face, he was going to leave in the fifth season. They kept teasing this and never following through on it, so it meant that Frankie could never truly be his own character. And I feel like the same fate kind of befell Scrappy in the fact that he was brought in to save the franchise. Don't worry, they never follow it through, QWERTY. Don't worry. But then they bring him in to save the franchise, and he's meant to be this breath of fresh air. He's meant to be this new character, this new ghost who tries to fight the ghosts, and is meant to sort of get in on the comedy dynamic of Shaggy and Scooby. But what I found he actually ended up doing was taking traits away from Fred, Daphne, and Velma. Suddenly, he's the one making all the traps. He's the one getting himself into danger, and he's the one solving the clues. And suddenly, Fred, Daphne, and Velma become irrelevant, and I find that frustrating.
Oh yeah, I understand. Like that. Those are valid points because, like, it's like I like Scrappy like in the original, like in his original iteration, like when he was with the
Yeah,
whole gang.
yeah,
Although he did start to wear out his welcome by the end of by the end of that season. The only time I absolutely cannot stand Scrappy is when the next season when the format changed. It was like the 3 7-minute shorts of him, Shaggy, and Scooby just getting into shenanigans.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and they do sort of weirder offshoots with them getting abducted by aliens and things like that, and they do, and they had like different characters they try to make work, like obviously in 13 Ghosts they had Flim Flam and Vincent Van Gogh and things like that. But the one that kind of has been forgotten about by time is Scooby Dum.
Oh, I
Um,
love Scooby Dum actually.
yeah, I don't know, I don't really see anyone talk about Scooby Dum. And I think I think it was a very one note character, but I thought he was charming. I thought he was a lot more charming than Scrappy, personally.
Yeah, I thought he was charming because he would actually also actively try to like solve the mystery and like assist
Yeah.
Shaggy and Scooby. Sure, he was dumb, but like he was actually putting in effort. I
Yes.
I think part of the reason also one note like when he appeared like on the Scooby Doo show, he only appeared in 4 episodes, so it's not like he was like in every 2 or 3 episodes making an appearance throughout 40 whatever episodes they made to give
Yeah.
him more character development and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually like obviously we'll get on to like kind of the fate of Scrappy in the franchise, but I'm surprised that like in their efforts to bring back Vincent Van Gogh, efforts to bring back Flim Flam in different versions and things like that, they haven't, to my knowledge, on correct me if I'm wrong, brought back Scooby Dum in any modern capacity, which I'm kind of surprised about.
Yeah, that surprises me too. I Especially because because they always bring back Scrappy for for some sort of joke, and then they bring back Vincent Van Gogh to speak because everyone loves Vincent Price, even though he sadly passed away. Maurice LaMarche does a great Vincent Price
He
impression.
does. He does. He's done a terrific job taking over that role.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah, no, but no, I
I'm
agree.
yeah.
But yeah, for Scoob, like not only was it not a Scooby Doo movie, essentially it was a Hanna Barbera weird, and it was just like it was just noise and shit happening on the screen for a feature length movie, and I don't like those kind of movies. But there's so much focus was on the other stuff. It was like, why was this even marketed as a Scooby Doo movie? Well, I know full well why it was marketed as a Scooby Doo movie, but it didn't like it was essentially the Blue Falcon movie.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, and I agree. It's like I'm not big. Like the only time I like the Blue Falcon is what on that Laugh Olympics show that he also appeared on.
Oh God, yes, I forgot about that one.
Because I found him more tolerable there because his entire character was just trying to play honorably and not cheat.
Yeah,
Despite,
no, I mean,
despite
and that was
really,
fine. And like, it's just like it's annoying because I'm like, on paper, I can kind of see this character working in a kind of, obviously Scooby Doo's crossed over with Batman and Robin and Batman a few times, so it's like it makes sense for that universe to have its own equivalent, I guess. But it never worked for me. It didn't work for me that one episode of Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated with Blue Falcon never worked for me. I felt like it was just such a sideline off the actual plot. Like quite late in the game, and it just irked me. Obviously, him taking spotlight and taking over the Scoob movie, like I was excited for a cinematic, theatrical Scoob movie as much as it didn't work out as seeing it in theaters because of the pandemic. I was excited for that. But it ended up not being that. So I literally logged my mental breakdown watching that film, and eventually I just had to turn my brain off, or I was getting that upset about it. So I got insanely upset about the Scooby movie, just watching it and just being like, okay, now there's dinosaurs, and now there's something about Alexander the Great and something about Cerberus, and it's like eventually I just could not follow what the hell was going on.
yeah, it's like none of that movie made sense. Like the the only thing I liked about that movie was kind of like the little backstory of like how Shaggy and Scooby met. Like that was adorable, but otherwise the rest of the movie I just couldn't get into.
Yeah, here's the thing. When they do like an origin story, that was really charming. And when they had that, all those jokes about their Halloween costumes, and like that felt like Scooby Doo. I'll be honest, the movie lost me as soon as Simon Cowell turned up because I'm like,
Oh yeah,
this. It's not 2002 anymore. What the fuck is Simon Cowell doing in this movie? Um, there is arguments about Scooby Snacks going on in this chat, and it's always the usual suspects of the people who turn up to our streams all the time. Will you lot behave yourselves? But yeah, if you've got any Scooby Doo questions, guys, throw them in chat. TJ, maybe another time. Best thing to do if you want to join live streams with us is to let us know ahead of time and things like that. Because I've tried to let folk on before, and it just goes weird and cringy. And yeah, if I don't have a sort of predestined thing with someone, I don't like to. Um, but yeah, so what was I gonna? What the hell's going on? Anyway, so what was I going to say? So yeah, I've sort of mentioned my thing about Scrappy Doo. Let's play prosecution and defense. I want to hear your defense of Scrappy Doo, shall we?
So my defense of Scrappy Doo. Well, honestly, I think he got better like more in the mid '80s, like once they like calmed him down and like you know he figured out, oh, I don't always have to fight the ghost. Like if the ghost actually seemed like Bernie, he could actually run away with the rest of the crew. But that's also my biggest
Yeah.
offense. So it's like I'm more willing to watch Scrappy like in the later things like the new Scooby Doo mysteries or like in like Boo Brothers, School.
Yeah, I was gonna see if you're gonna. Yeah, the red shirt Shaggy era. No, I mean, Holly, I kind of agree with you. He is funny and he is cute. Like, I do understand, that to an extent. But it was more just how he was used. And yeah, like generally, the rule is if it's not got Fred, Daphne, and Velma in it, or any of them in it, I'm less interested in it. But that being said, I did watch Ghoul School and Boo Brothers a lot as a kid. I struggle to go back to them now. I don't find them that they hold up as particularly now. I can't even get through the Reluctant Werewolf if I'm completely honest.
Oh yeah, no, Reluctant Werewolf is my least favorite of those three Richard Shaggy movies
Yeah.
because him being a race car driver like makes no sense.
Yeah, it was essentially. I wonder if that script started out as a Wacky Races short film, and they were made to slap Scooby Doo in it, like from a marketing point of view, because it feels like it fits in way better with a Wacky Races type thing.
Yeah, because I know when they were doing like all those Hanna Barbera Superstars 10 movies in the '80s, they were planning a Wacky Races movie, but they never got too far. Which I think it would have worked better if it was a Wacky Races movie.
Yeah, that Holly's asking our thoughts on Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. So let's go deep into that because we both love it. We
Oh,
absolutely adore it. I think so. I'll let you talk a little bit on it. If you
okay,
like.
no, yeah, no. I love the thing I love most about Mystery Incorporated. I love the overarching story, especially when you find out like at the end of the first season that Fred's dad is not actually his dad. He basically kidnapped him.
Yeah, the whole thing, like Fred just goes through so much trauma in that. Um,
I know it's like I always feel sorry for Fred like when I watch that, especially because like when we're finally introduced to his real parents in season two,
they're worse. They're
they're
somehow
worse
worse.
than
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God, I just felt so sorry. But that was I love. What's funny is when I first started watching Mystery Incorporated, as soon as they introduced Professor Pericles, the talking parrot, I was like, that's a bit silly that the villain is a talking parrot. And then I remembered it was a franchise about a talking dog. I had a bit of a reality check. But for some reason, I drew the line at. No, I thought it was a terrific show. I was shocked at how dark it was in tone, despite how funny it was. I was shocked at the kind of stuff they did, like Shaggy getting drafted. and then Scooby breaking him out of a military compound. Um, I was shocked by the sort of tone of the finale and how dark and sinister that got, and how quite high concept it got.
Oh yeah. And the fact that like they actually like killed off people on the show, 'cause they killed
Yeah,
off Captain Williams, they killed off Hot
yeah,
Dog Water.
yeah. What the fuck was with the Nazi robots? Like, there's Nazi robots in Scooby Doo, and oh my god.
Yeah, I know that was something. But I also one of the things I also love about the show was the fact like it didn't just focus solely on the mystery aspect. Like it actually like focused on like developing all the members of Mystery Inc. as characters. Like you
Yeah,
know,
no, absolutely. They really were like, what do we do with folk like Daphne and Fred? And they really worked at defining them. The one that suffers the most in character development, and I mean this, like in their efforts to develop her, they made her quite cynical and unlikable. And that's Velma. What are your opinions on what they did with Velma in that show?
yeah, I kind of like how they like made Velma a little more snarky, but
Yeah,
there was a little bit too much cynicism there,
yeah,
especially like after like she and Shaggy tried to be a couple and
yeah,
it didn't work out, and those first couple episodes afterwards are just it's just
yeah,
hard. It's hard to be on Velma's side with anything.
yeah. No, I found her treatment of Shaggy like really unlevel. Like she was literally trying to change him fundamentally. So I don't, and I've heard sort of like the creators come out and say like the reason that relationship was so awkward, or one of the reasons, was the fact that Velma was closeted and still figuring herself out, and obviously that sort of gets, there's definitely this implication of her and Hot Dog Water having a thing. Um, but yeah, it was difficult to it was difficult to watch her treatment of Shaggy, and difficult to watch. Like, I don't know why she got so. Yeah, I just it didn't feel great watching her try and come between Shaggy and Scooby. And but like
No,
I think she did have development as the show went on, and I think she became more likable as that went on. Especially when she sort of started spending more time with Hot Dog Water.
oh yeah, like it was very much possible that this it was like part of the entire plan was to like make Velma unlikable and then and then make her likable again.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, like Holly, you've just brought up Matthew Lillard, so let's get on to that. Let's talk about some of like the roles and who's played them over the years, because obviously Matthew Lillard played him in Shaggy in the live action movies. For anyone who doesn't know, and then obviously went on to play him in the cartoons. Um, yeah, he's phenomenal. Like he did an absolutely phenomenal job.
Yeah, I also love how his Shaggy from the live action movies sounds different than his Shaggy in the cartoons today.
Yes, I think he did more to sort of try and touch on Casey Kasem's performance in the cartoon.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I think he did it's like because for a while it's like because like Casey Kasem is my absolute favorite Shaggy voice, but
Right.
it's like I would toss between Matt Lillard and Scott Innes for number two, and
Yeah.
it's like
I
it's
thought.
like Matt Lillard now officially has my number two spot.
Yeah. No, I think obviously we've got to spend more time with Matthew Lillard Shaggy over the last few years. No, I totally agree, Holly, about the treatment of the voice, the established voice cast in Scoob. They obviously did that thing where they just used celebrities. Um, but the fact that they didn't even tell them, it wasn't like, oh, we can't get the established cast, or we're going to tell them and sort of release them or like we're going to have that contract negotiation. No, they just straight up didn't tell them.
Yeah, that was super shady, because like when Matt Lillard and Grey Delia went on Twitter and were like, yeah, no, this is bullshit. Like everyone was on their side. I'm like, especially because like the voice, the only replacement voice in Scoob I liked Gina Rodriguez as Velma.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I do agree with you. we're going to get onto a different Velma as well because I want to discuss Kate Micucci and what she's done with the role and things like that, and just like, but yeah, like no, I agree. Like the Will Forte one, I think I was struggling with the movie so much that I maybe didn't give like I think he really did try to do something with Shaggy, but whether it worked or not, I think is up for debate.
Yeah, I don't think it worked.
Right.
Like I it, like the voice just, and this is sad because I love Will Forte, but it's like
Yeah.
I just don't think he was the right choice for the role. I don't know who else I would pick who wasn't already doing the voice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like if you're going to like I actually think Zac Efron is a fairly inspired choice for Fred. Like I have no real notes about like apart from the fact it wasn't Frank Welker and apart from the fact the voice actors were kind of screwed over.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because it's like I wasn't a big fan of Zac Efron's Fred, but Frank Welker actually thought it was a good I like thought it was good
yeah,
casting. So I'm not too mad about
yeah, like that one didn't hurt me so much. It was more yeah, but as Holly says, it was more the behind the scenes side of things. Um, Talking of the live action movies, before we get on, sorry, actually no, we'll continue the voice actor chat. I'll come back to the live action movies in a second. Okay, so let's discuss that. Like favorite version of like because obviously Kate Micucci's had the role for a while, and I don't know if this is more of a failing of the writing, but I've struggled with the Kate Micucci Velma, but I think that's just more like modern writing I've not enjoyed as much. Rather, like I think like on paper she should work so well as Velma.
it. Yeah, I think her Velma worked really well in Be Cool Scooby Doo because since that was the modern writing and also
Yes.
kind of like as much as I don't like the design of just about anything in Be Cool Scooby Doo, I think the writing was really clever.
Yeah, that I have heard that. I haven't given it enough of its dues. That show because of the animation style. It was also a thing that put me off Big Mouth, and then Big Mouth was one of our quiz themes, and William wanted me to watch it, so I did end up watching it and finding it very very funny. But the design I found very off-putting. Right, hi Halls.
Oh yeah, but it's like with Velma's design, like hearing Kate Micucci's voice out of that Velma sounds right, but it's like sometimes like some of the other directed DVD movies, like when it's like the classic Velma design, like hearing her voice, it doesn't necessarily fit as well. But another thing though, I think the writing for Velma for Scooby Doo and Guess Who, like when she's saying all the really extremely smart things. It's not. It does sound right coming out of Kate Micucci's mouth because Kate Micucci has voiced a lot of characters who are kind of smart and
Yeah.
because like she was
Well, the
Dr.
donkey smart,
Funky.
like obviously Webby in DuckTales and Sadie in Steven Universe are the ones I knew her from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because like I've known because like I the first time I saw Kate Micucci before I knew who she was, it was on the Disney Channel show Cory in the House because she was
Oh yeah,
she was the girl who worked the cheese in the cup.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Um, so
and
yeah,
I yeah,
we've
it's like
discussed.
I
Sorry, I'll
feel
go.
like I feel like her performance as Velma kind of it's like it varies between good to kind of I don't think she's been like at all like mediocre or anything. Like
No.
part of it just depends on the writing
Yeah.
of the project, and some of it also just kind of depends on you know kind of direction like they're taking Velma in this project. Like because Velma was so annoying in Curse of the 13th Ghost.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was also the writing. Like it could have been Mindy Cohn as Velma, and that probably still would have been annoying as
Yeah.
hell. But yeah, because Mindy Cohn, that shit. Now that was a great Velma.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, she had it for God, how many years? Like,
About 13 years.
yeah. No, so she was probably the Velma I grew up with. Um, yeah. What about obviously like the Grey Delisle? She's had Daphne for so long, and I feel like has done a lot with it to make her sound less two dimensional. Like I,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, Grey Delisle's done a great job in the 20 plus years she's
yeah,
had the role. Yeah, because she first did the role in the Cyber Chase because the original voice actress for those films, Mary Kay Bergman, took her own life.
yeah, yeah. I remember
And
that.
yeah, because I'll be honest, like I love Mary Kay Bergman's Daphne. I think
Yes.
like because it's still really the Daphne I hear when I read things, even though Great Delisle had the role for 20 years.
Well, I agree. Like, I think Zombie Island is ingrained in my head, so that is the voice I hear to a certain extent. But I do like the fact that recently, especially in Be Cool Scooby Doo, they have allowed Grey Delisle to play crazy because we all know she can do that well because she's done Azula. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. I also love with the Be Cool Scooby Doo Daphne how like they like I think that's the most personality Daphne's really had like in a
yeah,
series.
I think
I,
so.
I like giving her like a wacky new hobby every episode
Yeah. No,
because
I
like
think
because
the
for
recent
that
ones have
show
really tried to give the character their dues,
yeah.
beyond Shaggy and Scooby, because Shaggy and Scooby aren't that malleable. Like they have really set, like vocal patterns. They've got really set personality traits, interests, that kind of thing. Like their joke dynamic hasn't changed really in the last sort of 50 odd years, 54 years. Whereas Fred, Daphne, and Velma have been a lot more malleable.
Yeah, it's like yeah, because like in the beginning, Fred was just the leader who drove the van and made the convoluted traps, and now he's so obsessed with traps and nets and stuff. And then like kind of like in Be Cool Smooth, they kind of re-railed his character development a little bit. Like instead of making him so obsessed with traps, so like in Be Cool, like he was kind of like he was still he still made the traps, but it's like he actually had like a head on his shoulders.
Yes, exactly. I mean, they really went ham with the trap thing and the lack of brain cells that Fred had in Mystery Incorporated, and I love it, but I think it did get a little old after a while. So, um, like I think the fact that they maybe just pulled back a little bit on that in recent, but they've kept that thread of him being that obsessed with traps in a lot of the more recent movies and stuff. They've definitely kept that thread going.
Yeah, or sometimes he'll just like become interested in like a hobby, like
Yeah,
in the WWE Curse of the Speed Demon, like he became like a big car guy, just started
yeah.
working on cars.
God, those crossover ones are weird. Um,
Like no shame, I love the WWE crossover movies, but I'm also a wrestling fan.
oh, see, I'm not, so maybe that's why it grinds up. Like my friends, the guys I do my co-hosting with, they love wrestling. I struggle with it. I don't quite get the appeal, but like I think that's maybe why it grates on me. The film, like the crossover, I did quite enjoy for the most part, despite how fucking batshit it was the Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery.
Oh yeah, that movie got just weird near the end.
That genuinely felt like if you smoked like every drug and then watched anime. That's what that felt like.
Oh yeah, no, that film, especially like because like Gene Simmons, like he's like his character in the movie just wanted nothing to do with the gang,
Yeah,
but then Star Child, I think that's Paul Stanley, like he and Daphne were more or less becoming the couple of the movie.
yeah. No, I know. Um, sorry, I'm just. Um, okay, let's talk about, if you don't mind, the live action movies because there are four of them. Obviously, I'm sure you're aware. You've seen all, like, including the ones that came out in 2009. Was it?
Oh yeah, Mystery Begins and then Curse of the Lake Monster, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the ones that everyone's familiar with first. Because that, at least for me, I was 4 or 5. No, I was about 5 when the first one came out. So it was like perfect era to really sink my teeth into Scooby Doo. Um, which do you feel is better, Scooby Doo 1 or Scooby Doo 2?
Oh, Man, that's a hard one because
Yeah.
both have their great points.
Yeah.
Like I will give the point to the first one because that is the one I tend to watch more often.
Okay. See, I would give the point to the second one.
Yeah.
For me, the first one, as much as I have severe brain rot when it comes to it, and I've watched it a million times and can quote it incessantly, the first one to me is it feels like, and I think there was something behind the scenes where this some is somewhat true, where it feels like a semi-adult parody of Scooby Doo with its claws taken out. Like it feels like the studio mandated it to be kid friendly, but like having James Gunn be the writer and just the design of the film and some of the jokes and things like that. There's a lot of even like we're even like rivaling like Shrek levels of adult jokes, but to the point where I'm like, this is a parody more than it is a straight up Scooby Doo movie. Whereas the second one, I feel like, is a truer to form adaptation of the cartoons.
Yeah, the first live action movie where they went to Spooky Island, that was supposed to
Yeah,
be more of like a rated R send up of everything, and
yeah,
then Warner was like, yeah, you got to cut everything, make this for kids. So
yeah.
and so that's so they had to like cut a lot and edit
Yeah.
things.
So it
So
is funny, but I find it tonally really weird. Whereas the second one, it's set in Coolsville. There's the classic monsters. There's the set, the classic sets like the abandoned mine and things like that, and the mansion, and it feels more like the cartoon. So I suppose it depends what you want from your Scooby Doo movie, whether you want it to be a sort of parody of the cartoon or whether you want it to be a straight up adaptation of the cartoon. But I find myself gravitating towards Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed a lot more.
oh yeah, because the thing I love about Monsters Unleashed was the fact that I could actually use like monsters from the show.
Yeah,
I I because like my only complaint about Monsters Unleashed was like that when they were drinking all the when Shaggy and Cube were drinking all the different
yeah,
little like formulas because that just got old after a couple.
yeah, yeah. No, there are definitely some jokes where it's just like, okay, and scene done. Oh no, scene's still going. Okay, but yeah, no, and there's so many like iconic moments from both of them. To be honest, what were your opinions on making Scrappy Doo the villain for the first one, and then
See,
essentially removing him from the franchise?
yeah, it's like the like as a kid, I didn't mind Scrappy being the villain just because it's like like because since they explained the movie, like Scrappy was being a douche, and so they kicked him out of the gang, so he just wanted his revenge. And then like as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like I don't hate Scrappy being the villain, but it's like I feel like if they had built up more of the motivation on making him the villain instead of just that like one scene where he pees on Daphne and then he gets kicked out of the band, and that's just. I feel like if they like went a little more in depth on that.
Yeah, yeah, I felt like it was a strange thing, but again, I feel like it was just James Gunn absolutely despising the character, and it worked. The man killed Scrappy Doo essentially. I mean, they have not. I mean, Neil Fanning. I met Neil Fanning at Comic Con. Who was the live action Scooby, or the voice of live action Scooby, and he essentially confirmed that yeah, that was the intention, was to essentially remove Scrappy from the franchise, and it fucking worked. Like beyond a few weird jokes and stuff like that,
Yeah,
like the one in Mystery Incorporated.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's like oh yeah, that joke where it's like yeah, we look away, Daphne. We said we'd never speak of him again.
yeah.
Or in the Goblin King when like the one carnival game gets crashed into and all the Scrappy dolls go flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's a point. You like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I never see Scrappy do merchandise, like official Scrappy merchandise.
I haven't seen any like in the modern era. I've been to a couple of like antique stores
Yeah,
and like secondhand stores. Like I've seen some Scrappy stuff.
yeah. Like I just assumed they'd still make plushies of him or something. Like given that a lot of people still have a fondness for the character, but they really haven't. Like they really have gone out of their way to make Scrappy a sort of non-entity.
Yeah, they've really been doing their best to bury him.
It's just strange. And then obviously the ones came out for the 40th anniversary, with Robbie Amell and things in them, and those I quite like. I understand that it's not a particularly good movie necessarily, but I quite enjoy the Mystery Begins movie as just a fun origin story. Like if
Yeah,
you,
yeah. It's like I thought it was all right. Like I one of the things I did like about Mystery Begins was like setting up, Scooby and Shaggy, like establishing their dynamic pretty early
yeah,
on,
yeah,
and the fact that like Shaggy's like actually was like old enough to actually have a driver's license because he's been held
yeah,
back.
yeah. And just yeah, I just liked all the nods to it, and I just thought, oh, this is cute. I think this is like it's very campy and silly and whatever. The Curse of the Lake Monster though goes like the real monsters that are CGI look faker than the paper mache fake monster, and that's just a thing. But obviously, those films suffer from really bad CGI. Like
Yeah,
Scooby Doo being the prime example, to the point where in the second one he's barely in it. He's in like two scenes. They keep forgetting to bring him, and it's because you can just tell it was because they didn't want to animate him.
yeah, like that like those films had like really low budgets. It's like
But I feel like the first one used his budget reasonably well, like, and it just embraced the fact that Scooby was kind of cartoony. But like the second one, my God, they barely wanted to have, and also it just keeps breaking into random musical numbers in the second one.
yeah, that one I never understood.
But yeah, like I remember when my flatmate and I like years ago, like we don't live together now, but when we moved in together, we didn't have internet for 2 weeks, so that's what we watched on DVD was all the live action Scooby Doo movies, all four of them, and we just ended up pissing ourselves laughing, and having a great time. But that was our entertainment.
Yeah, I also think with Curse of the Lake Monster, they didn't have as much of a budget for the animation for Scooby because they actually got some name actors for some of the roles, like
Yeah,
because like Daphne's uncle was played by Ted McGinley, who was an '80s and '90s sitcom actor,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the old lighthouse lady who was Marion Ross, who was the mom on Happy Days. And
yeah.
like the bad guy who did it all was Richard Mole, who just passed away a few days ago. He
Oh,
was the bailiff on Night Court.
oh wow. Yeah, no, I just that was that. Those were strange ones. Those were strange ones. Right. What else do we want to discuss? Have you got any questions you want to ask me or anything, or anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, there is one question I've been kind of wondering since you're from Scotland.
Yeah.
What's your take on Scooby Doo and the Loch Ness monster?
I thought it was fun. It's not definitely not one of my favorites. I don't know what I find the whole What's New Scooby Doo era. Um, Yeah, I find the What's New Scooby Doo era kind of mediocre to an extent, or at least not my favorite. Or at least in those movies, I think the show was a lot better. But that was kind of I'm sure that was like around that era.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the first movie of that era.
yeah, but I mean, I thought it was fun. I think anytime Scottish accents are attempted, even by Scottish people, sometimes they struggle.
Yeah, excuse me, because one of the people who I work with at the aquarium I'm at, like her favorite Scooby movie is Loch Ness Monster because like it was the one she grew up with in childhood.
Yeah,
It's like I thought it was all right, like, but it's like I agree that most of the movies from like the What's New era were not that great, especially compared to the show. But the
yeah,
one,
like Goblin King, whatever the samurai one was. I never quite warmed to those ones.
yeah,
Um, there
the
was
the
there
one
was one that came out around that era, but it seemed to bring back a lot of the old voice actors. and that was the Legend of the Vampire one. And I only realized it was a lot of the OG voice actors when I watched it. I was like, oh, that's like I'm sure is it not Heather North who was like one of the original Daphnes?
Yeah, and then they brought back Nicole Jaffe, the original Velma, after 30
Yeah,
years, and
yeah,
then they did the Monster of Mexico the years
that's the
later.
one. Yeah. What did you think of those ones? Because I felt like I don't know, maybe I'm just so used to the modern voice actors, but I felt like Daphne was felt off in those
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, it's like those movies. They have a charm. Like I think Legend of the Vampire is the better movie, but
Yes.
I find myself watching Monster of Mexico a little more often between those two, just because like it's got the like it's I think because they get a lot of things about the chupacabra and everything completely wrong. I just like kind of watching it for the cringe, and so but I do agree like the voice acting for Daphne and for Velma in those movies is not the greatest. Like Nicole Jaffe felt like she didn't even do a great job in those movies.
No.
Which
I just remember thinking like, oh, there's something feels off. I don't know if it was the comedy timing or whatever it was. I felt like it was just a little bit off with those ones. Like going back, I think I enjoyed them as a kid, but going back, I don't think if there's anything else I want to cover. Like I'm trying to think. What is your hottest take? Your most controversial Scooby Doo opinion?
oh, my most controversial Scooby Doo opinion. I got a thing on this one because
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of an answer to my own question. To be honest. I mean, like my kind of one is like Fred is one of the most likable characters, but I don't think that's that hot a take. I just think that's a. I think
oh
that's
yeah,
just like I think he's an
oh yeah.
underrated character.
Oh yeah, no, I love Fred. Like in one of the videos I posted like a week ago, where like I had the map of the United States and all the
Yeah,
different, like all the different states, like which character is most popular.
yeah, saw that.
But yeah, the state I live in, Missouri, which is like smack dab in the middle of the country. Our vote went to Fred. So
Yeah, yes. Like I think he's profoundly charming as a character when done right, and I don't think he ever. I think they took a while to it took a bunch of years to really characterize him, but once they did, I thought he was very charming.
I think my hottest take is going to be that Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase is not as great as we remember it to be.
I completely agree with you, and I completely agree. And you know what part of it is? It's the fact that they get sucked into a Scooby Doo video game that barely feels like it was based on Scooby Doo. If that makes sense, like the only one that feels like a Scooby Doo level is obviously the ending with some of the classic monsters and whatnot. But like, what was that video game designer thinking? And just it just I found it very baffling. Like as it's fun in concept, but I think people forget it's really not that great a film.
Yeah, and also it's like we never really learned anything new about the characters in that movie. Like Witch's Ghost, Velma got some development. Zombie
Yeah,
Island, Daphne, to a slightly lesser extent, Fred got some development, and Alien
yeah,
Invader, and Scooby got character development. It's like the characters just kind of felt like they were there in that movie.
yeah. I heard it said, especially in Zombie Island, that like Velma is always the skeptic. Fred, more times than not, is the skeptic who doesn't believe in it. Some like obviously in Putnam Scooby Doo, he definitely believes anything he'll read, and will blame everything on mole people. Shaggy and Scooby will always believe the ghosts are real and run away from them. And in Zombie Island, what was really refreshing about Daphne is she also believed the monsters were real, but ran towards them in excitement. And I thought that was a really refreshing take on Daphne.
Yeah, no, that was refreshing because that even continued like in Witch's Ghost when when they were kind of like trying to figure out like this ghost witch
Yeah,
Daphne was interested in it, and then of course Velma being Velma was very surprised when Ben Ravencroft turned out to be evil. I mean, it was going to happen. He was voiced by Tim Curry.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, just it's yeah. Of course, it was Tim Curry. Of course, he's the villain. but yeah, I like that take on those characters. What would you do if you were given the keys to the kingdom? What would you do with the Scooby Doo franchise?
Hmm. I think today what I do is like I'd still have the solving mysteries. We kind of like I kind of like what they did with kind of like with Mystery Incorporated with Vehicle Scooby Doo, like have the mysteries, but also like just kind of focus on the gang's relationship with each other,
Yeah,
like possibly like even make like the mystery like kind of like second fiddle to like all their relationship, like because one of the things that we don't see as often is like some character pairings, like we don't see Fred and Velma paired up together as much,
no,
or like Fred and Shaggy paired up
yeah,
together. Because they made that one joke in the Toy Store episode of What's New Scooby Doo. It's like why Fred and Shaggy never pair off together? Like they have nothing to talk about.
yeah, yeah, and and it's like the obviously in the live action movie where Fred and Velma are split off together. It's like dorky chicks like you turn me on too. It's like there's a lot of comedy potential there. Yeah, that's interesting. Like a kind of slice of. I mean, what's quite charming is a lot of like fan creators have made like Batman comics, but it really focuses on the relationships of the Bat family. So seeing something like that with the Scooby Gang could be really charming, where it's less about the stakes and less about the monsters, but like that is what they're doing. That could be fun. I could imagine that would be pretty special.
Yeah. So now, what would you do if you were given the keys to the kingdom?
I was thinking, I would love to do like I'd like to revisit live action movie casts. So bring back Linda Cardellini, bring back Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Bring them back as they are now. Acknowledge the fact that that time has passed, and just be able to push the boundaries a little bit on like let's make Velma gay and let's do things that maybe we couldn't do in the early 2000s and but maybe have them in a sort of similar vein to them in Zombie Island, where they've all gone off and had their different lives and then come back for a reunion, but make that feel special. Like I just from a nostalgia point of view, I just like to see that cast back and just see what story you could tell with them not as meddling kids, but as fully grown adults with their own lives, and maybe as you say, a slice of life, see their relationships, see that they've got kids. I don't know, like you. I think there's a lot of untapped potential to age up the characters
Yeah.
um, because they're always vaguely teenagers or young adults, and I just think that'd be interesting.
Oh yeah. I think that's one thing I liked when they did What's New Scooby Doo. Is like all the characters like in their 20s, because like they had two different houses in Coolsville in the Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. A slice of life thing would be quite fun. Right, I'm probably gonna turn in for the night and head to bed soon, just because I've had quite a long day. But it's been absolutely amazing chatting to you.
Okay.
And
It's been fun chatting with you too. We have to do this again sometime.
yes, absolutely. We'll definitely get you on, and maybe if we do a Scooby Doo quiz, we can bring you on at some point. And because that was gonna be one of the things I did tonight was like do a Scooby Doo quiz competition. But honestly, you'd absolutely wipe the floor with me, so I don't even want to embarrass myself enough to do it. But maybe that's something we can do next time, and really put the Scooby Doo historian to the test.
Oh yeah.
But thank you so much for joining me, and
Hey, thanks for
I
having
hope
me.
you have a lovely day.
You too.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.